Is your camera,
Kim's on that.
does the owl need?
That's a
Inquiry.
question.
Oh, there we are. I can see you in the owl now. Hang on. I'm disappearing myself.
And the owl knows.
They keep changing things.
Right. Yeah, me too.
Okay, I don't want to switch the camera. We're good.
Okay, well, all right, seeing that it's past 6 o'clock, we apologize for the technical difficulties we just had. We need the recording, so it's 6:11. I'm calling this meeting of the Enfield Select Board to order. The first order of business this evening is the public hearing. It is for a special one-time payment of, oh my gosh, okay. I'm just gonna read you the notice. The Enfield Select Board will hold a public hearing Monday, December 4th, 2023, beginning at 6 PM. And since we're after, it's now 6:12. Public Works Facility, 74 Lock Haven Road, to discuss and accept one special one-time payment of highway block grant funds in the amount of $39,488.15 in accordance with House Bill 2 for maintenance, construction, and reconstruction of Class 4 and 5 highways. Okay. Entertain a motion to. Do we need it? Oh, no, I can open it. I can't remember. I'm half the day. I could
A
open it.
motion to accept and somebody can second, then you can discuss it.
Then I would open, yeah.
Okay,
Or you can open the public hearing first.
I think we're opening, yeah. I'm
You
having,
did.
I opened the public hearing. Okay, this is what happens when I start off with it. It's not good. Okay, so we've got the public hearing, which you were going to tell us about these items, I assume?
Yeah, this is similar to what we had last year when we did a highway block grant that's designated for highway maintenance only. So we'll be, if this is accepted, $39,488.15, we will be working with Jim to look at a highway project maintenance that we can do that's not normally already scheduled for the budget. So it'll be in addition to our normal budget.
Is it discussion?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to use this money to substitute for money that's in our projected budget?
No,
It has to be supplemental to a non-identified, because we haven't identified the DPW budget yet.
no, but we shouldn't reduce what our normal amount is by $39,488 to supplement this, but we can add it to the budget as a project.
So we could keep last year's budget number, for example, and still have this. In other words, we don't need to give an
Yeah,
increase.
like we did last year with Maple Street, we added that project.
No, yeah, we added 121,000, so we could do Maple Street. No, I'm aware of that. I'm just thinking that this year's projected DPW budget is above last year's DPW budget. If we kept the sum the same as last year's DPW budget, we wouldn't be lessening it to make room for this. We would simply be keeping it flat.
Yeah, so we could look at that.
I think you'd probably want to make sure your personnel, properly reflects what you
Yeah.
plan, like you wouldn't want to level fund that because that's.
Why wouldn't we want to simply level? If we have 39,000 unanticipated funds, why can't we level fund the DPW budget and add the 39,000 to
We
last
can.
year's sum?
We can, we'll just have to have that discussion of.
So I know the DPW budget is not going up by $39,000. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
It may not be going up at all. I mean, it was proposed by Highway that way, and I was gonna talk to the budget committee about where I think it should be, but we definitely were looking at some sort of increase for a couple special projects.
What are your thoughts?
I don't disagree. I think if I understand you correctly, could be nice to not add a project to spend it,
Mhm.
but use it to defray existing things if that's possible.
Usually the way, when they grant these though, it specifically is given to not cover an existing project, isn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of what.
Yeah, but I think we're at a really good spot
Okay,
to do either one. I
Okay.
mean, I think we can straight face.
I'm just suggesting presentation to the public of here is at least one small part of the town budget, which is level funded from 22 to 23. And we're going to receive from the state $39,000, which we can add to the 2022 sum.
That's exactly what we did last year.
so we would still put it into the budget though, so that it would be an offset, it would be offset by the revenue.
Did we put it in last year? Or did we just, I think we kept it aside as a special.
It was allocated specifically, 121 was allocated specifically towards Maple Street.
I mean, to me, that,
Saving.
if you know you're gonna do something in your
So then
budget,
we-
you should put it in a line, right? Like,
We could, but we keep this separate for that reason, for
Yeah.
accounting purposes, so we can show that this was this project and this was our normal operating budget.
yeah, I just worry too about if you artificially decrease your budget by just leaving something out, then you come back next year and now you need the full amount and it's, the optics are even worse, so.
Well, I don't think that'll happen.
Okay.
We'll make sure that we do it right. There is, you know, the highway analysis matrix kind of thing that we were gonna do, you know, double checking all our roads and starting to put together a long-term plan, which is a one-time cost this year that's in. And then we were looking at some other paving stuff. So if we use this to offset some of the paving, it'll be level funded to a small increase instead of, and that's a one-time cost.
And the budget committee gets to make that decision. And we either go along with it or don't at the end of the day. So.
Yep.
Are there any other questions or comments on this? Any from the public? Here, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I like Tracy's idea. I mean, if you could offset $40,000 worth of asphalting and consider it a new project. If you say, I'm gonna use it on, we've decided we're gonna use it on X, Y, and Z streets, it's asphalt. Rather than saying, we've got 200,000 in the budget for asphalting and we're gonna add 40,000 more of asphalting that we weren't gonna do.
Anybody else here in front of us? Anybody online have a question or a comment before we close the public hearing? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? So the public hearing is now closed. And we would need a motion to accept.
We won't make you read it again.
Yeah, one of you guys are gonna make the
I'll
motion.
move to accept the special one-time payment of highway block grant funds in the amount of $39,488.15 in accordance with House Bill 2.
Second that.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, passes unanimously. Moving on to the business portion of our evening, the minutes, do you want to pass them and try to read them, or can we table them? Okay, I would be happier with tabling. So the minutes came in as a draft, they are available, but obviously they did not have boxes yet, so
So technically, we'll just push that and we'll put it on the next.
yeah, we'll just push it to the next agenda. Yeah, we don't need to table. Okay, we're going to go to board reports. Eric?
Have a quiet time at the planning board, which is good though, because we're getting going again on the zoning rewrite and good big picture discussions. I don't know if the Hawk Grant contract got drafted or negotiated, but that's.
We're working on it. I haven't seen it or signed it yet.
Anyway, that's underway, but resilience seems to be on board already and planning to bring things to our next some meeting in late December. And other than that, a lot of touch around just what type of changes and ground up zoning we can do. That's an interesting discussion, but there's not a whole lot to report at this point.
Alice?
I don't have any updates, nobody met yet.
John?
Last budget committee meeting, I thought went smoothly. Nothing startling. We're making progress.
Awesome. Tracy?
Energy meeting met. I'm actually gonna do this in two parts because I want Charlie to pitch in about the insulation project, which you're very familiar with. But I'll start with mention of community power. 16 towns have joined community power, representing over 80,000 customers in the state of New Hampshire. 10 more towns in the pipeline for January, another 10 or so in the pipeline for February and March. Possibly Canaan, but they're at least a year and a half away because of the process involved. But they are interested and are speaking to our representatives on the committee. But I'll defer to Charlie as far as the DPW installation project is concerned, please.
The project was done, and I think very successfully. I've noticed during the day that it was warmer in the building here. I've talked to our building inspector, and he can't notice the difference because his office is right by the entrance. And he keeps his door open. I came mainly to monitor the heating, and I noticed when the blower went off at 6:06. I'm anxious to see when it comes back on, because I remember all the other meetings, the thing is running constantly. So I think it's working good. We still need to insulate the roof, and according to our building inspector, that should be done when we replace the roof. I think the job was very successful, even though it took about 3 years to get it implemented, but it's done.
And also as a result of it, once it's inspected by someone from New Hampshire Saves, we will be eligible for a $3,300 rebate.
I have an update on it.
Please do.
I'll give it to you in my report.
Okay, good. So that's a good thing. And there were reports, I guess, from a few people who work here that they felt marginally warmer.
Yeah.
They could feel an effect, which is terrific.
I'm not wearing my coat, so that says something.
That says something. And the other thing, which I think we need to mention to people who work here, is to just take a glance on the back roof to see if there is an ice dam effect. We won't know if there'll be an effect on the ice dam.
I got an email from the chairman of the energy committee. I don't think there's gonna be any effect at all.
There might not be, but it's worth a glance in January or February.
Yeah, because the problem is that we've only insulated maybe a third of the building, and the other 2/3 are still the way they've always been.
Yeah.
The problems that we've had with this building is the way it was designed also. There's not enough overhang, and as a result, the ice coming off the back of the building is destroying the building.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, when you talk about the refund, and I talked to Liberty, 40% of the project should be funded by Liberty. Or Energy Saves.
From Energy Saves, New Hampshire Saves, yeah, which is great, which is terrific. That's it for me.
Conservation has had quite a bit of activity. We met last week. New Hampshire DES sent 2 representatives up to work with the Soak Up the Rain subcommittee that's looking at stormwater mitigation. We did not end up with a quorum, but it was a really good meeting, and determined that they would like to go forward with doing not only a presentation, but a bit of a conservation and stormwater fair. So tables, organizations that have done some of these mitigation pieces, and so that is shaping up to be very interesting. The Methodist Hill Property Committee is meeting tomorrow and at 5:30 p.m. here at DPW, and Conservation is scheduled to attend that meeting. And then Conservation meets in their regular session on Thursday at 7 p.m. here.
The MPUC meeting is also an open public meeting for public comment. We did one 2 weeks ago, the in-person, and this one's supposed to be scheduled to be a little more focused for online people. So if you could tune in and give your comments, it would be much appreciated.
Thank you. And I will be attending online because I have a scheduling conflict, which I emailed in. Do we miss anything under board reports? Are we ready to go on?
When is the Methodist?
Tomorrow at 5:30.
Taking it one step further, if I understand it right, their report is due on the day after our next select board meeting.
They're working to get it in by the end of the month.
Oh, it's not going to be,
There's no real due date, but they set a goal to be the end of December.
okay, there was a schedule that listed a particular date. And the date was the Tuesday after our next select
I
board
think
meeting.
that's their last meeting when they're gonna finalize their,
So we wouldn't see it until January.
probably not, no. We'll have them come present like the Johnson property did.
Is there anything that they could possibly present that will require us to do something before the end of the year?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
We'll go on to town manager's report.
All right, on the staffing report, police department continues to work with the applicant that we have. He's getting closer and closer. Right now, we're finishing up background checks and he's scheduled for the polygraph, I think, this week. Once he passes that, I think we're pretty much in the pipeline of hiring our next police officer. And hopeful that we can bring him on board and get him into the February academy. So that process is going well, and we still have one open position that we're looking for. DPW, as mentioned at the last meeting, is accepting applications for a winter seasonal plow truck operator. If anybody knows somebody that might wanna work for the winter, we'd love to have them. And then we're also taking applications for janitor, building maintenance specialist. We have hired a new groundskeeper, Nicolette, I think it's Huscha, Huschha. She started and seems to be fitting in well and doing a great job as she's moving forward. So we welcome her aboard and look forward to working with her over the next little while. Like to thank everybody that helped with the tree lighting that was held this last Friday. It was a wet, rainy evening, but you know, there was still semi-decent attendance for that, and we had fun. The volunteers that helped, and I'd like to thank Dawn and Archambault and Eva, and then Kevin of Recreation for putting that event together and making a good time. And I'd also like to thank Jake's Market for donating the coffee and hot chocolate that was there. So it was a good time if you could dodge the waterfalls in the tents, but it was fun, and it was nice to celebrate the holiday season coming up. Whitney Hall groundbreaking. We still have not set a firm date for that, so I'll just keep you guys apprised when we do get that set. I'm kind of trying to work with Breadloaf. We want it right about the time that the construction's starting, not too far ahead, and then trying to find a time that everybody can do it. So we'll make sure that gets publicized as soon as we have a date and time.
So it's not Thursday, December 14th, but
No. It might end up being that day, but we don't have a date yet. Shed Street should be 3/4 the way done. The building should be removed except for the one stone building, and the remaining portion of the property will be demolished and cleaned up next year. So still be moving that forward. I'm gonna do that one at the end. Talking about housing, just wanted to let the select board know, if you haven't heard, there's quite a bit of chatter running around the region and the state about Enfield and their housing initiatives. Our second ADU zoning change is really getting some traction around the state, and people are starting to ask questions, along with some of the density changes that we made. So much so that Rob has actually been invited to be on a housing panel and to talk about what we're doing here in Enfield. It's the 6th annual Housing We Need Roundtable Forum. It'll be held on December 8th at the New Hampshire Institute of Politics at St. Anselm College. So it's nice to see Enfield getting some recognition and being slated to talk on some of those types of panels. So just wanted to bring that up. On the DPW side of things, we've pump tested the 2 new wells at the Marshwell field, and they're doing the studies now. We're expecting to get the results of those 2 well tests, early next year. So we're excited to get that. The FEMA disaster for the Christmas storm is complete, and we did get our money back. I think I announced that at the last one. Jim met with the state emergency management staff to discuss the recently declared July storm. So we're continuing to work on the paperwork to see if we can get reimbursement from those July storms. The old chipper that was listed and approved to be sold was sold at auction for $4,400. And then the DPW insulation project that Tracy and Charlie talked about, the project's completed and application has been submitted to Liberty Utilities Incentive for a total of $3,321. So that hopefully should be coming back, and we'll be getting a little bit of that money reimbursed. And then, as I talked to you a couple meetings ago, I believe the Beta Group is the engineering group that we have recommended to the state for the Shaker Boulevard Bridge. That engineering firm has been confirmed and approved by New Hampshire DOT for preliminary engineering. So we'll be entering what they call the scope and fee phase of the RFP process with them. So we'll be negotiating exactly what they're gonna do and what they're gonna charge us. And we'll be working with the state closely to get that approved as well. So that project continues to move forward. With that, today was the beginning of the Whitney Hall move. So when I reported to work this morning at about 8:15, the movers were already there, getting everything set up. They did a pretty good job. They got most of the town office stuff out of there. Probably have another day's worth of town office moving, but I do think they're at a spot now where we'll do a little bit tomorrow morning and we'll start on the library tomorrow. So I'm gonna say a day ahead of where I thought we'd be. They moved pretty quick. I would like to take a minute to thank the staff, both the library and town office staff, for all the extra work that they've put in over the past couple weeks, not only going through all the documents and throwing stuff out and cleaning up and packing, but we ended up needing to go over to La Salette and do quite a bit of cleaning. And so I actually went in and asked Julie, hey, can you come help me? And we'll go sweep and mop and do all the things we need to do. And when I showed up at La Salette, there were about 5 staff members from the town office that up and left and came over and put in a couple good days to make sure that was ready for us to go. So just like to thank them for that, and also like to thank DPW. They've done quite a bit of moving supplies for us. They came down to La Salette and hauled a bunch of stuff away, a bunch of metal that we could take. And so they've done a lot of work, and then the police has helped with some logistics and talking with some companies to help get some stuff set up, Tasco Security and different people. So everybody's really pitched in to make this move happen, and we're excited to see how it ends up, but everything went fairly smooth today for the first day of moving. If you saw the pictures in the newsletter, the library has ended up with about 800 boxes of books. It looks like a warehouse in there, but it's gonna be quite the move, but we're all excited to get into our new facility and get the construction underway. So, and that's my town manager report.
I'd like to just question on a couple of minor points. With the progress that's been made at Shed Street, which is terrific, and it looks so much nicer already, when do you think we'll be talking about the marketing plan for that property?
I don't know exactly. It'll be probably sometime next spring. I need to get through this construction project here, and we'll get settled in and get started, but you know, I really need to do that, and I have to get a clean bill of health from DES, which we have not gotten yet. They still want some supplemental testing, and I don't think it's right to put it out to contractors with I don't know what's gonna happen. And so we'll move that forward as we can. I'll be working with Credarian and Associates there.
I'd just like to have a plan known before we get to town meeting. I'd like to be able to tell folks at town meeting, here is the marketing plan, just to show that there has been progress on that long project.
I mean, we might be able to give them a little, but it's really gonna be that we're gonna put out that RFQ.
And that's fine. I think we need to present a plan at town meeting and say, here is the plan. So that people can have a little confidence that it is actually going to evolve.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
the plan is to do the required steps, right? To finish the mitigation, to get the do the testing, get the clean bill of health, and then launch the RFP, and RFP needs some refining. I think we were gonna revisit that, but other than,
Yeah, there's not a lot to revisit on that. We'll have to do that. We'll have to go through the interview processes with people that write back, but, you know, get it out there. We have had at least 2 developers reach out to us with ideas of what they think they could do on that lot. So there's definitely some building potential there and people that are interested, but getting that out there. But
I don't think we need to identify the specific plans that developers may have suggested. I just want something to be out there for the public to be aware that, the plan is evolving and moving forward and, is an imminent sale. Just to give them some encouragement. And then the other very small thing is, will we get rid of that police car that's sitting out there?
they're working on it. They need to get some equipment out of it and work on it, but they'll take a little bit of time to get it fully stripped. But,
Roy has
Right, the comment.
It's all out. I talked to Jim today. He's already made the phone call to the people that listed, so it's in the works.
Great, thank you. That's all I have.
I was asked a critical question before the meeting tonight. How long will the Dropbox at Whitney Hall be monitored, specifically around dropping, like, say, tax bills in there?
We'll be continuing to
Yeah.
monitor that at least until we're open, and then we'll put a sign up.
Okay.
Once Breadloaf mobilizes, they're gonna fence off that area, so it'll be a little harder, but we'll also have some sort of Dropbox at the new location.
Oh, yeah.
Can we just relocate that one to La Salette for a year?
We probably can,
Yeah.
but we'll look at a
The-
bunch of
They
different.
were specifically asking about like this week, because I think they went today and saw all sorts of things happening, and we're like, if I drop my check in here, is it gonna get, are they gonna pick it up?
Too bad.
We will definitely check it.
That's what I told them. I was like, I guarantee they'll check it, but I'll also confirm that,
Yeah.
that's gonna happen.
Yeah, we'll continue to monitor that, and we'll probably check it every so often if it does stay there for a while, but.
And the offices will be open at La Salette on Monday the 10th.
We're planning on next Monday. We'll have to see exactly what happens. I did learn today that Comcast will be there Friday. So as long as they show up and everything works electronically, then we should be able to open first thing Monday morning. If not, we'll open in some fashion. We may not have full computer access until they get that done, but we will be able to collect checks and do those types of things to help as much as we can. And a lot of us can work remotely, so we can set up and we can get some sort of services going again. Hopefully it all goes smooth and they come on the 8th and everything is connected and we're good to go.
If not, you know people at Comcast, right? You just drop the whole line. Bump, bump. It really has to
Hub
happen.
66
Well, they're the ones,
to take it over.
Simquest will be there the 6th to rewire and hook all the IT equipment up. They're gonna have to come back now on the 8th, once Comcast does their thing to make sure that everything's working properly.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay. Let's go down to the business of the evening. We have a cemetery trustee application from Sarah Jur in our, I would entertain a motion to accept, or appoint, I'm sorry.
Make a motion to appoint Sarah Gerard, cemetery trustee for town of Enfield.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes unanimously.
I noticed that she does say that she'd like to see green burial as an option in Enfield and I've been getting people asking me, about that, and, I think there's a fair amount of interest in green burial these days, and I think that we as a Board of Selectmen should be looking into it, or encouraging the cemetery trustees to look into it.
Did I read that Hanover is on the thinking process
They're
of that
looking
as
at
well?
it. Our cemetery trustees and Sexton they have been talking about it. She can talk about it a little bit now. I was gonna have her give you a little presentation on where they're at and what
Yeah.
they're talking about. I'm sure Bridget will hit on it, but it's not quite as simple as you think it would be, like everything else, but they are talking about it and it is something that's a discussion point. Bridget, you wanna?
Sure. So if people are getting questions, I would definitely ask that you send them to me, because I have not heard, except for one random call, interestingly, after the published article in the Valley News for Hanover, I have not had any real interest in green burials. It was a conversation the trustees kind of mulled around for probably a year. And this past year, we decided that since we hadn't really heard any serious inquiries, we were tabling it, because it was kind of like we were having a conversation just to have it. And we all have other things to focus on, but the October New Hampshire Cemetery Association meeting had a great presentation on green burials. We have already been in conversations with Pat and Leb around their process, which took them about 2 years. And as you can imagine, this isn't something that is super simple, because we have things like we don't offer winter burials. And that means that in the winter, something would have to happen, because Lebanon will not hold bodies that are not embalmed, and you can't have an embalmed body for a green burial. So we'd have to look at our rules, write them to fit kind of what our rules already state, and move forward in that capacity. We're going to have to definitely talk to probably New Hampshire DES and find out environmentally what we have to look at, what kind of testing we would have to do, or surveying we would have to do, and the cost of that. So I did share this with the trustees at our last meeting about the New Hampshire Cemetery Association presentation. And like I said, we have also talked about it with Patrick in Lebanon. So it's not that it hasn't been discussed. It's definitely been discussed and researched. It's just that we're going to have limitations. We're going to have to set up kind of new rules and regulations. And it's a learned process too. It's a very different style, and just having that all kind of spelled out. So, but definitely please send them to me, the cemetery at Enfield email address, and I'm happy to talk with people too.
It's my understanding that now both Lebanon and Plainfield have already committed to the green burials. Is that your understanding also?
I can't speak to Plainfield, but yes, Lebanon has definitely, it is in place. And like I said, Patrick said it took them around 2 years to get it fully up and running.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right.
Let me know if you want me to make a presentation still. However.
We'll let you get your new person on board and we'll get them moving, then we can add it to another meeting. Okay, let's move down to property tax abatements. You have Rippy.
I was just making sure they finished the appointment.
Yeah, we did. Yep. We have Rippy and Antel in. You have a memo from the assessor, and you'll see on the Antel one, I hand wrote in the corrected size. So it was that the garage is currently 24 by 30 But it was assessed as a 34 by 30, so it was just a typo.
Mhm.
Do you need them in separate motions, or do you?
Do we even need motions?
Or do you
I
need
think it's
motions? I don't know
just
that you need-
discussion.
it
was
and
just
it's
discussion
paperwork
and
for
there's
signing.
no-
Okay.
Yeah.
If anybody had any questions or
Okay.
concerns.
Other than
They
that,
both seem pretty
signatures?
self-evident.
Okay,
Julie does a nice job of explaining her
Yeah.
thought process and what's going on.
yeah, we've got informational items. Okay, so we're down to public comments. Anyone have public comment? How are we doing on our, I stopped listening for the blower.
30 minutes between times. I think it's an improvement.
Do we have any public comment from any of the folks online?
Nothing here.
Go ahead, sorry.
I think I might have met somebody at New Liberty who actually does something.
No.
And I was working on a job and they didn't complete it, and I
Can you bring
contacted
him
him and it was finished within a couple of hours.
Oh,
So I'm gonna contact him hopefully on streetlights,
oh,
because he's on the engineering end. And I think he might be the person to get the streetlights that have only been on for 6 months. Like I said, I'm not concerned with the ones that burn all the time, because that's not costing anything. The ones that don't burn, which we're paying for, are the ones I'm concerned with.
and I think, Emily did mention that they have put in multiple requests, so.
Yes.
Don't know if Chief is still here, nope. Okay,
We were also going to, at some point, get someone in who failed to show up 2 meetings ago to talk about solar powered streetlights.
Salem, I think, we should need to talk to somebody at Salem. Because I talked to someone at Salem years ago about having the lights relamped, so they're LEDs. Liberty is very hesitant about doing that. It was gonna actually cost us more money to change to LEDs. Because you have to pay for the value of the existing light,
Mhm.
Yeah.
pay for the installation of the new lights,
Mhm.
and then pay for the new lights. And they were doing it as though they put in one light, they go back to the barn, pick up a second light, and come back out and put in the second light.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who worked for the company for many years, and he was telling me that once his truck is chocked, it takes him like 15 minutes to change the light. But that's not the way that Liberty functions, as though each light is dedicated to one service.
Yeah, it's a project.
Yeah, and they're not in favor of it, and I can understand why, because they're gonna lose money,
Yeah, they will.
and they're already losing money.
Yeah, we looked for Community Lutheran for the parking
Yeah,
lot there,
yeah.
and it was a definite losing proposition on our side, which was silly, but.
Yeah, I am connecting the energy committee with the person that will talk to them about solar lights. I mean, that's a big, long discussion, because then there'd be light poles that we own and not Liberty, but there wouldn't be any power associated with them. There'd just be a cost. So there may be some grants and things out there that we can get to put those in, so. We'll continue that discussion and see if it's worthwhile.
Lebanon, I think they actually own their lights. I was looking at their thing, they're so much bigger. Like, we don't have a ski area that we have to light and things like that. But they can gain a lot from talking to them in Lebanon.
That was the only way that Hanover resolved the same issue. They bought the poles. And then they could put on the light that they wanted. But the only way they could get around Liberty was to actually buy the darn poles.
They bought all of them?
They bought a whole lot of them. Dozens and dozens in order to be able to control them, yes.
And then you're responsible for maintenance. And
Yeah.
when they
But
get broken.
It was the only way they could get,
Yeah.
you know,
So it's
energy
a long
efficient lighting.
discussion, and, you
Yeah.
know,
That's a long discussion and
we
very
we met
difficult.
with a person at ICMA that sold these solar lights. And he was coming the week of Thanksgiving, and I don't want to say he didn't come. I canceled him at the last minute, and he's gonna come back at another time.
We have a lot going on.
If I understand correctly, Salem worked with Honeywell. And Honeywell helped finance their new lighting system.
There are companies like that, and we can talk about that at Energy Committee as well, but Honeywell and those people will do the full audit for you. and then they'll help you finance it in such a way that the savings pays for the install.
Done some of those over the years in the school district, I think, not lights, but, well, I think it was lights, Johnson Controls. did-
Let's say lights are usually what helps you make the curve on the savings, so.
I don't want to bring up sore points, but years ago, we looked at removing some of the streetlights.
Oh, I know.
Streetlights that illuminate people's mailboxes. And the problem was people complained that I can't get my mail in the middle of the night if the light is out. And we tried to convince them that they can also add that light to their bill, which would be great, but nobody wants to do that.
Well, we have examined that issue several times in my tenure on the board here. We have, and the chief of police went around and studied the matter. So we have lost some of them. Not as many as Kurt wanted, but for good reasons, I think, so. I think it's a dead horse at this point.
Okay. Other public comment, did you?
Just a quick one on the community power. They've had a big sign on, which is Concord is going to, Concord City Council just approved Concord going to the community power, which is a
Big one.
big addition.
Oh, yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Community Power will soon be the second largest private power
Yeah.
purchaser in the state.
And they have nobody that's on co-op in Concord, so it's all Unitil.
Will help us. Certainly shows that our friends at Liberty maybe weren't giving us the best deal. Not that we thought they were in the first place. Okay, do we have any other public comments? We have non-public, I believe.
We have a fairly quick non-public.
Okay.
If you guys want before or after that, we can go look at insulation.
We do.
It's up to you.
So, the Enfield Center Hall
It's
Trust Fund,
informational.
yeah, it's information.
It is.
So we don't have to vote in it. You
No,
don't have
no, I
to
wasn't
vote
gonna
in it.
vote, I just didn't know if we ought to publicly thank these contributors for their
I would,
funds.
I
I
think
don't.
Heritage, does the Heritage write to them when they contribute, or?
I'm not sure.
I don't know that they do for the center town hall.
Isn't that their project they wanted? Okay. I would give that job to Heritage.
You know, need to do anything with that?
I don't, do we need to accept the budget committee resignation? No, that's budget
No, that's
committee.
budget committee.
That's budget committee, and we don't appoint, that's an elected, so no. No, those should all just be no action. So, what's the
They're all
pleasure of the,
listed under informational items.
And the budget committee already voted to accept this.
okay, what's, the pleasure of the board? Would you like to go see our insulation project, or would you like to do non-public?
I'd like to do non-public.
Okay, I like that as well. All right, so I would entertain a motion to go into non-public session in accordance with RSA 91-3, Roman numeral 2, parentheses, Roman numeral 1.
654. Oh, well, when they do.
Someone can say so.
So moved.
We have a second? Okay. All right, and then we're gonna go around the table. Any yeses?
Yes.
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 Yes. We are in non-public
You
session.
can stay.
We can totally stay.
She doesn't want it, but she
I
can
know.
stay.
I don't. Oh,